Today in Vrindavan, I want to start a new reading, a reading that has been necessary for me and I have been doing for obvious reasons. The previous Sangha that I grew up spoke so bitterly, so bad on so many different philosophies and devotees worldwide. This was translated basically in a hatred against anybody who was not belonging to my religious cult philosophy. But with the years and the studies, I have been realizing that all of those things that were, let's say, hidden from me out of this is Sahajiya, this is non-bona fide, this is that, all of those things surprisingly have been the most nectarious things on my bhakti path. I have to say, through the studies on the granthas, the shastras, the information is crystal clear, and it has been giving me the tools and the eyes to see what is correct and what is not. Saying this, one of those characters who were attacked constantly back in time by my previous asatsanga, to say, because is what is it, was this Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, an Indian saint who is known as named by everyone, I think, everybody who is around yoga or bhakti yoga. The name is known, but not what he really did or what he didn't. One of the main things that I hear from my previous Sangha on Ramakrishna, that he was some kind of demoniac impersonalist, and the main point is because he was eating meat or fish. Later on, I realized that inside the same Guru Parampara I was following back in time, there was Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who also eat meat and fish. So why to attack one once in the other hand you have in your own family people who is doing the same? I don't think that this is a correct way of acting. First you must wash your own hands and then to start thinking on the dirt on other people. So my Vade Baba, my Radharaman Charan Das Dev, instruct us to all his followers that we must be more humble than a grass and more tolerant than a tree, right? Shikshastakam of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So to put it in practice, not just to say it in order to sound humble and to sound good, but then I start acting like a pig against everyone, like a monkey attacking everybody around. This is not correct. So in order to get in track this on my own personal experience, you can see I am always studying different granthas, different philosophies, different books, and doing different kind of investigations. This is my life, actually. But in order to show my respect to all of them that out of ignorance, maybe I had a misconception, and because of misleading, I had wrong conception on so many philosophies and saints. I will start reading a few episodes only, a few episodes from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. It's a book that was published, let me see, in the year, first edition was published in India in August 2002. And this edition is the 17th edition, print January 2023. So just one year ago since the recording or the live of this video. And with this, I want to show my full respect to all Ramakrishna devotees, to Ramakrishna, and to all the saints of Bharat and all the saints of the universe. Because it's impossible that only my philosophy will be the correct one. For me, my philosophy is the correct one. That's why I follow. But I cannot think because of my philosophy that other people is wrong. Maybe they are in different path. God has several faces, infinite faces and names. Krishna said this on Bhagavad Gita, yes or not? So how I can think that I am only the right one and everybody else is Sahajiya, everybody else is non-bona fide, everybody else is this, everybody else is that. This is not correct. So in honor to the truth, I will read this Master and Disciple. This was wrote in February 1822. It was on a Sunday in the spring of 1882, a few days after Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, that M met him the first time. Sri Ramakrishna lived in the Kalibari, the abode of Mother Kali, on the bank of the Ganges at Dakshineswar. M, being a leisure on Sundays, had gone with his friend Sidhu to visit several gardens at Varanagore. As they were walking in the Prasanna Banerjee's garden, Sidhu said, "There is a charming place on the bank of the Ganges where a Paramahamsa lives. Would you like to go there?" M assented, and they started immediately for the Dakshineswar temple garden. They arrived at the main gate at dusk and went straight to Sri Ramakrishna's room. And there they found him seated on a wooden couch facing the east. With a smile on his face, he was talking of God. The room was full of people, all seated on the floor, drinking in his words in deep silence. M stood there speechless and looked on. It was as if he were standing where all the rivers, all the holy places met, and as if Sukadeva himself were speaking the words of God, or as if Sri Chaitanya were singing the names and glories of the Lord in Puri with his devotees. Sri Ramakrishna said, "When hearing the name of Hari or Rama, once you shed tears and your hair stand on end, then you may know for same time that you do not have to perform such devotions as the Sandhya anymore. Only then you will have the right to renounce rituals, or rather, rituals will drop away of themselves. Then it will be enough if you repeat only the name of Rama or Hari, or even simply Om." M looked around him with wonder and said to himself, "What a beautiful place! What a charming man! How beautiful his words are! I have no wish to move from this spot." After a few minutes, he thought, "Let me see the place first, then I will come back here and sit down." As he left the room with Sidhu, he heard the sweet music of the evening service arising in the temple from gongs, bells, drums, and cymbals. He could not hear music from the Nahabat too. He could hear music from the Nahabat too at the south end of the garden. The sounds traveled over the Ganges, floating away and losing themselves in the distance. A soft spring wind was blowing, laden with the fragrance of flowers. The moon had just appeared. It was as if nature and man together were preparing for the evening worship. M and Sidhu visited the 12 Shiva temples, the Radhakanta temple, and the temple of Bhavatarini. And as M watched the service before the images, his heart was filled with joy. Something happened with the connection, so we can continue from here. And as M watched the service before the images, his heart was filled with joy. On the way back to Sri Ramakrishna's room, the two friends talked. Sidhu told M that the temple garden had been built by Rani Rasmani. He said that God was worshipped there daily as Kali, Krishna, and Shiva, and that with the gates many sadhus and beggars were fed. When they reached Sri Ramakrishna's door again, they found it shut and Brind, the maid, standing outside. M, who has been trained in English manners and will not enter a room unannounced, asked her if the holy man is the holy man in. Brind replied, "Yes, he is in the room." M, "How long has he lived here?" Brind, "Oh, he has been here a long time." M, "Does he read many books?" Brind, "Books? Oh dear, no. They are all on his tongue." M, had just finished his studies in college. It amazed him to hear that Sri Ramakrishna read no books. Perhaps it is time for his evening devotions. May we go into the room? Would you tell him we are eager to see him? Brinj, go right in, children. Go and sit down. Entering the room, they found Sri Ramakrishna alone, seated on the wooden couch. Incense had just been burned, and all the doors were shut. As he entered, M, with folded hands, saluted the master. Then, at the master's bidding, he and Sidhu sat on the floor. Sri Ramakrishna asked them, "Where do you live? What is your occupation? Why have you come to Varanagore?" M answered the question, but he noticed that now and then the master seemed to become absent-minded. Later, he learned that this mood is called bhava, ecstasy. It is like the way an angler acts when sitting with his rod. The fish comes and swallows the bait, and the float begins to tremble. The angler is on the alert. He grips the rod and watches the float steadily and eagerly. He will not speak to anyone. Such was the state of Ramakrishna's mind. Later, M heard and himself noticed that Sri Ramakrishna would often go into this mood after dusk, sometimes becoming totally unconscious of the outer world. M, perhaps you want to perform your evening devotions. In that case, may we take our leave? Sri Ramakrishna is still in ecstasy. No. Even in devotion? No. It is not exactly that. After a little conversation, M saluted the master and took his leave. "Come again," Sri Ramakrishna said. On his way home, M began to wonder, who is this serene-looking man who is drawing me back to him? It is possible for a man to be great without being a scholar? How wonderful is it? I should like to see him again. He himself said, "Come again. I shall go tomorrow or the day after." M's second visit to Sri Ramakrishna took place on the southeast veranda at 8 o'clock in the morning. The master was about to be shaved. The barber hadn't just arrived. As the cold season still lingered, he had wrapped himself in a red-bordered moleskin shawl. Seeing M, the master says, "So you have come. That's good. Sit down here." He was smiling. He stammered a little when he spoke. Sri Ramakrishna to M, "Where do you live?" M, "In Calcutta, sir." Sri Ramakrishna, "Where are you staying here?" M, "I am at Varanagore, at my elder sister's, Ishan Kaviraj's house." Sri Ramakrishna, "Oh, at Ishan's. Well, how is Keshav now? He was very ill." M, "Indeed, I have heard so too, but I believe he's well now." Sri Ramakrishna, "I made a vow to worship the mother with green coconut and sugar on Keshav's recovery. Sometimes in the early hours of the morning, I will wake up and pray to her, 'Mother, please make Keshav well again. If Keshav doesn't live, whom shall I take with when I go to Calcutta? Whom shall I talk with when I go to Calcutta?' And so it was that I resolved to offer her the green coconut and sugar. Tell me, do you know of a certain Mr. Cook who has come to Calcutta? It is true that he is giving lectures. Once Keshav took me on a steamer, and this Mr. Cook too was in the party." M, "Yes, sir. I have heard something like that, but I have never been to his lectures. I don't know much about him." Sri Ramakrishna, "Pratap's brother came here. He stayed a few days. He had nothing to do and said he wanted to live here. I came to know that he had left his wife and children with his father-in-law. He has a whole brood of them. So I took him to task. Just fancy, he's the father of so many children. Will people from the neighborhood feed them and bring them up? He isn't even ashamed that someone else is feeding his wife and children, and that they have been left at his father-in-law's house. I scolded him very hard and asked him to look for a job. Then he was willing to live here." "Are you married?" M, "Yes, sir." Sri Ramakrishna with a shudder, "Oh, Ramlal, alas, he's married." Ramlal was a nephew of Sri Ramakrishna and a priest in the Kali temple. Like one guilty of a terrible offense, M sat motionless, his eyes fixed on the ground. He said to himself, "It is such a wicked thing to marry." The master continued, Have you have any children? This time M could hear the beating of his own heart. He whispered in a trembling voice, "Yes, sir, I have children." Very sadly, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Ah, me, he even has children." Really, the mind of the Siddhas is a different reality, and normally you cannot guess what they are thinking. Thus revoked, M sat speechless. His pride has received a blow. After a few minutes, Sri Ramakrishna looked at him kindly and said, "You see, you have certain good things. I know them by looking at a person's forehead, his eyes, and so on. Tell me now, what kind of person is your wife? Is she a jnani, a wise person, or is she ignorant?" M: "She's all right, but I am afraid she's ignorant, Master," with evident displeasure. "And you are a jnani." M had yet to learn the distinction between knowledge and ignorance. Up to this time he had thought he got knowledge from books and schools. Later on, he gave up this false idea. He was taught that to know God is knowledge, and not knowing Him is ignorance. Sri Ramakrishna exclaimed, "And you are a jnani?" Miss M's ego was again badly shocked. "Master, well, do you believe in God with form or without form?" M, rather surprised, said to himself, "How can one believe in God without form when one believes in God with form? And if one believes in God without form, how can one believe that God has a form? Can these two contradictory ideas be true at the same time? Can a white liquid like milk be black?" M, "Sir, I like to think of God as formless." Master, "Very good. It is enough to have faith in either aspect. You believe in God without form. That is quite all right. But never for a moment think that this alone is true and all else is false. Remember that God with form is just as true as God without form. But hold fast to your own conviction." The assertion that both are equally true amazed M. He had never learned this from his books. Thus his ego received a third blow, but since it was not yet completely crushed, he came forward to argue with the master a little more. M, "Sir, suppose one believe in God with form. Certainly he is not the clay image, Master. But why clay? It is an image of spirit." M could not quite understand the meaning of this image of spirit. "But sir," he said to the master, "one should explain to those who worship the clay image that it is not God, and that while worshiping it, they should have God in view and not the clay image. One should not worship clay." Master, sharply, That's the one hobby of you Calcutta people, giving lectures and bringing others to the light. Nobody ever stops to consider how to get the light himself. Who are you to teach others? He who is the Lord of the universe will teach everyone. He alone will teach us. Who has created this universe? Who has made the sun and moon, men and beasts, and all other beings? Who has provided means for their sustenance? Who has given children parents and endowed them with love to bring them up? The Lord has done so many things. Will He not show people the way to worship Him? If they need teaching, then He will be the teacher. He is our inner guide. Suppose there is an error in worshiping the clay image. Does not God know that through it He alone is being invoked? He will be pleased with that very worship. Why should you get a headache over it? You had better try for knowledge and devotion yourself. This time M felt that his ego was completely crushed. He now said to himself, yes, he has spoken the truth. What need is there for me to teach others? Have I known God? Do I really love Him? How true the proverb is, I haven't room enough for myself in my bed, and I am inviting a friend to share it with me. I know nothing about God, yet I am trying to teach others. What a shame! How foolish I am! This is not mathematics or history or literature that one can teach it to others. No, this is the deep mystery of God. What he says appeals to me. This was M's first argument with the Master, and happily his last. Master, you were talking of worshipping the clay image. Even if the image is made of clay, there is need for that kind of worship. God himself has provided different forms of worship. He who is the Lord of the universe has arranged all these forms to suit different men in different stages of knowledge. The mother cooks different dishes to suit the stomach of her different children. She prepares different dishes to suit their different tastes and powers of digestion. Do you understand me? M. Humbly. Yes, sir. How, sir, may I fix my mind on God? Master. Repeat God's name and sing His glories, and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. The mind cannot dwell on God if it is immersed day and night in worldliness, in worldly duties and responsibilities. It is most necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God. To fix the mind on God is very difficult. It's the beginning. Unless one practices meditation in solitude, when a tree is young, it should be fenced all around. Otherwise, it might be destroyed by cattle. There are three ways of meditating. Think of God while doing your duties, or meditate on Him in a secluded corner on your house, or contemplate Him in a wood. And you should always discriminate between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, the eternal substance. All else is unreal, that is impermanent. But discriminating thus, one should shake all impermanent objects from the mind. How ought we to live in the world? Master, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife and children, father and mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they were very dear to you, but know in your heart of hearts that they do not belong to you. A maid servant in the house of a rich man performs all the householder duties, but her thoughts are fixed on her own home in her native village. She brings up her master's children as if they were her own. She even speaks on them as my Rama or my Hari, but in her own mind she knows very well that they do not belong to her at all. The tortoise moves about in the water, but can you guess where her toes are? There on the bank, where her eggs are lying. Do all your duties in the world, but keep your mind on God. If you enter the world without first cultivating love for God, you will be entangled more and more. You will be overwhelmed with its danger, its grief, its sorrows. And the more you think of worldly things, the more you will be attached to them. First, rub your hands with oil and then break open the jackfruit, otherwise they will be smeared with its sticky milk. First, secure the oil of divine love and then set your hands to the duties of the world. But one must go into solitude to attain this divine love. To get butter from milk, you must let it set into curd in a secluded spot. If it is too much disturbed, milk won't turn into curd. Next, you must put aside all other duties. Sit in a quiet spot and churn the curd. Only then do you get butter. Further, by meditating on God in solitude, the mind acquires knowledge, dispassion, and devotion. But the very same mind goes downward if it dwells in the world. In the world, one only thinks of woman and gold. And there is a note on this. The words woman and gold occur again and again in the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna to designate the chief impediment to spiritual progress. This favorite expression of the master, Kamini Kanchan, has often been misconstrued. By it he means only lust and greed, the painful influence of which retards the aspirant's spiritual growth. The word is water and the mind milk. If you pour milk into water, they become one. You cannot find the pure milk anymore, but turn the milk into curd and churn it into butter. Then when the butter is placed in water, it will float. So practice spiritual discipline in solitude and obtain the butter of knowledge and love. Even if you keep that butter in the water of the word, the two will not mix. The butter will float. Together with this, you must practice discrimination, woman and gold, and impermanent. God is the only eternal substance. What does a man get with money? Food, clothes, and dwelling place. Nothing more. You cannot realize God with its help. Therefore, money can never be the goal of life. That is the process of discrimination. Do you understand? M. Yes, sir. Master. Consider, what is there in money or in a beautiful body? Discriminate and you will find that even the body of the most beautiful woman consists of bone, flesh, fat, and other disagreeable things. Why should a man give up God and direct his attention to such things? Why should he forget God for their sake? Is it possible to see God? Master, yes, certainly. Living in solitude now and then, repeating God's name and singing His glories, and discriminating between the real and the unreal, these are the means to employ to see Him. Under what conditions does one see God? Master, cry to the Lord with an intensely yearning heart, and you will certainly see Him. People shed a whole jug of tears for wife and children. They swim in tears for money. But who weeps for God? Cry for Him with a real cry. Longing is like the rosy dawn. After the dawn, out comes the sun. Longing is followed by the vision of God. Jay Sri Radhe. Namaste Gurudevaya Sarvasiddhi Pradayana Sarvamagala Rupaya Sarvananda Vidyayane. Interesting reading on Ramakrishna and his message, the way he explained the things. From this reading, what I take as interesting, or the main point, one of the main point, is this idea when Ramakrishna asked to M, that the writer didn't reveal his name, he said, do you believe in God with form or without form? And M, who was coming from the Jnani area, say, I believe in a God without form. And Ramakrishna said to him, very good, but not for a second think that the other point of view is wrong. This is exactly what, on my humble opinion, we all should develop. To understand that there are different ways of worshiping God, different religions, philosophies, different spiritual masters will teach different forms of worshiping God. It does not mean that my way of worshiping God, or my way of philosophy, or my form of a spiritual path is the only one. I choose this one for me, or Swayam Bhagavan chose this path for me. It doesn't give me any rights to think that the path of somebody else is wrong. Evidently, there are some things that can be wrong, right? But I have no rights to pointing or to discriminate on that way. More or less, we must realize that everything is made out of the will of Swayam Bhagavan. There is absolutely nothing that is out of the will of Swayam Bhagavan. Is anyone watching this or seeing the repetition who can contradict my words on this? You can contradict anything you want, but are those contradictions making any sense? Everything is the will of Bhagavan, Swayam Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. Everything is His will. Otherwise, this universe will be as I want it to be. I would like to have giant trees and, I don't know, maybe oceans of gulab jamuns or kheer, sweet rice. I will not like in this world people eating cows or eating meat or killing animals. I will make a total different universe, So I can think everybody is wrong, but at the same way, on the same hand, in the other hand, everything is by the will of Swayam Bhagavan. Then there must to be a meaning why all this is happening. Yes or not? There must to be a meaning of why all this is happening, why this Kali Yuga is happening. What is the meaning of this? It's just that God wants a total nonsense of universe. This is His wish. Is the wish of Bhagavan that we live a nonsense? Or here is a major plan that maybe we are missing missing the plot, or maybe some part of the story we are missing. And I am right because I am basing my ideas on the Shastras. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, the one who thinks is the doer is an illusion, is a delusional thinker, is a delusional person, crazy, a fool. If I think I am the doer, I am doing the things. In reality, the only doer is Swayam Bhagavan. And everyone out of the moods of nature, Prakriti, Tamas, Sattva, and Rajas, are acting or inacting, are taking different decisions out of the will of Bhagavan, for good or bad. So there must come a moment, a time in our consciousness where we realize that everything is perfect, that everything is the will of Bhagavan. Is there something else out of Bhagavan? I don't think so. Is there something else out of his will? I don't think so. Is there something that escapes to his intelligence and will? I don't think so. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is nothing out of his hands. It's not that the world is out of hands. It's that he loses the control of this machinery, universal machinery. This universal machine. It's like God lose the control of this, and look what is happening. Many people say that. This is absolutely avidya, ignorance, demoniac mind. What is really happening is that the spiritual realization of some souls are not powerful or strong enough to realize what is the ultimate plan. The plan that is beyond all this shadow and war and crimes and all this nonsense going on. There is a plan for this. And what is the plan? In short, the Das avatar of Vishnu. Still Kalki must to appear. For what Kalki must to appear? Yes, to eradicate the Kali Yuga mentality, the darkness, Kala of this planet or this universe. Yes, but wait a moment. This is not the real plan. The real plan is that Krishna want to play superheroes, literally. He want to come to save the world. That's all. And in order that Krishna will have this lila, Yoga Maya have created all this. So Krishna can come and can give mukti, moksha, liberation and bhakti to infinite souls who will be in that very moment. Not only humans, but also animals, nature, rivers, even the mosquitoes who will be present on that time, they will get perfection. Just by the will of Bhagavan. So everything is connected to a supreme will. The will is so spiritual, so advanced, so big that common intellect cannot even grasp what is the meaning of all of this. But while we purify our minds and our heart through the power of sadhan, then all this information comes crystal clear to us. Before that, it's not possible. Before the basic, it's not possible to even realize that God exists. So now we have realized God's existence, and we must realize the plan because we are part of that plan as well. Mahavira Raman Charandas Devaki Jai Jai Nitai Jai Gaur Jai Jai Sri Radheshyam.